We're moving along to our next panel discussion that's titled Startups and Accelerators, Corporate and Open Innovation in Practice. The session will be moderated by Piotr Mieczkowski, MD of Digital Poland, and the panelists are Jensen, COO of Startup Wise Guys, Magdalena Jabłońska, CEO, MITEF CEE, and Robin Wauters, founding editor, Tech.eu.
We're going to talk about the open innovation in practice. Thank you for listening. Let me start with some general questions. What is the current interesting programs, Accelerator, which you could recommend for startups that they could join? In the Europe, in Asia, or in US? Could you name some of them? Which are the best from your perspective? Magdalena, maybe you could start.
So Amazon is currently not running recruitment, but because we have just finished recruitment process, but we will open a new one in a month. So we will still be looking for a solution of different kind. We have now covering 8 sectors, so solutions that are relevant to corporate partners. But beside our program, we've been also sharing information about initiatives that are run by European Commission. So they are also looking for startups that whose solution may bring something to the table regarding how to deal with coronavirus. But also they are looking for other as well. So not only coronavirus is what drives our acceleration program now. And there are also, I believe that on an acceleration scene, there are more and more acceleration program. And this is even because everyone have to go online. So lots of opportunities for startups to learn how to design your business model and other things. But I especially encourage you to select those acceleration programs that can connect you with relevant market, which is not that easy at these times. So for sure, MIT Enterprise Forum, so Mine Accelerator is doing that. So it's a nice opportunity that I can encourage to take this opportunity.
Lon, I mean, you're leading, Startup Wise Guys, Europe's most experienced B2B startup accelerator. Could you elaborate on that?
Yes, of course. Yes, of course. We run many programs during the year. We just started one yesterday online, and we had already one running, which we had to transition to online. So we are an early stage accelerator. So of course we can recommend ourselves, but there are, as Magdalena says, many options out there. What we do, we run a 14-week program. We are B2B focused, and we have the various verticals: cybersecurity. We have the SaaS software, and also we have fintech, of course, also, and also looking into many new verticals, and have 5 new batches planned for the fall. If everything goes as hoped, at least, because we are also moving to 3 new countries. So let's see how that goes after summer. So yes, there are many options. We work also with corporate partners, but as said, we are early stage, and we are also opening a scale up now. So it depends on what you're looking for as a startup. Our region is Central Eastern Europe. And but we have actually startups from the entire world coming. So it depends what stage are you at, what are you looking for. As Magdalena says, can you be connected to your main market? Mm-hmm. We always go international. That's one of the things where we differ from many startups, is that we are purely international. We never just look at one market. We come from the Baltic countries, where everything has to be international because they are so small. So this is kind of natural for us to do it that way.
Okay. What about the COVID-19? Do you think Magdalena already mentioned that there is a special program, designed by European Union? But do you think it's, is it going to be opportunity for specific, I don't know, cases, or maybe even in the long run? How do you see?
It's for sure opportunity, and we are now even, running a special project with our alumni to select those technologies that are ready to go, and they can support businesses, but also healthcare system to deal with this problem, from day zero, from just right now. And we of course, what we see also that startups that we are talking about, and we encourage to apply to our program in the next cohort, we frequently talk about how they pivot due to COVID issue, and because sometimes the existing business model is no longer valid, or their solution could be of better use for these very different circumstances.
Okay, can we move on to the models, actually, of the open innovation of the accelerators? What works, what doesn't work? What are your insights for corporation and for startups? Maybe Robin, what's your perspective, since you have like 15 years in the sector?
Yeah, thanks for talking about how old I am.
Oh, that's the thing you mentioned in your profile,
I do have like a lot of experience in seeing lots of different models across the world, and I don't think it's a one-size-fits-all. Like there's so many different models. Some work, some don't. Some work in a certain period, but then it stops working because the world around it changes. Sometimes corporate innovation programs work because they choose a good partner. And it doesn't work with another partner. So it depends on a lot of factors. And it doesn't mean that an accelerator model that works for example, in the automotive sector or in London is going to work the same in Eastern Europe or in a different sector. So it's very, very difficult to sort of pinpoint what works and what doesn't, because it's a constantly evolving ecosystem, it's a constantly evolving situation. But of course, there's plenty of good examples to point to across Europe, but also US and Asia.
What would be the examples?
So you already mentioned that Startup Wise Guys has been very successful in choosing a niche, like B2B enterprise software. There's other companies like eFounders, for example, in France and Belgium that have chosen software as a service. And they're more of a startup studio in the sense that they co-develop the products. There's another company here in Brussels called Startup Factory, where they have the idea first, and then they look for someone, to act as the founder CEO externally, and then they sort of give them 18 months to 2 years, and then they step away and they let a corporate partner take over either relationship or buy them. So lots of different models, but I think choosing a vertical or choosing a very, very well-defined sector is key.
And what are the business models that you recommend? I mean, in terms of all of you, actually, what will be the best business model for corporation in CE? I mean, like a partner with one company which is doing the accelerator, or do on themselves. My experience, my personal experience, is that when big corporations, especially state-owned corporation, do it by themselves, it's a total failure. I mean, it's a total failure. But that's my experience. I know. What do you recommend? Go with the experience, probably, right? The company, which could lead.
So our model works the way that we create a kind of platform. So as I said, we are multi-sectoral acceleration program. So we have partners from different sectors. And for startup, it's of great value that we are a platform, and they can meet not only corporations from one sector, but from different sectors too. So we are not going vertical to one sector, and this is for a reason, because there are many cases that startups that initially think that their solution address one sector, they during acceleration program they see that this is not the truth. So it was a wrong assumption that this solution is even better to other sectors. So this is one thing. And the other thing is, so our experiences prove that we started with almost with every corporation that we work with, we started an open innovation model. So they started with us, acceleration, and some of them are no longer with us because they created their in-house acceleration program, which is okay because they were ready to create internal structures and operations to deal with startups and to do this in a way that is, business driven. And so in case corporation look for different opportunities and want to exercise different business models or are looking for business model how to deal with startups, external accelerator is best fit.
Okay. Lone?
Yeah, I think what Magdalena just pointed out there is completely true, that like one model doesn't fit everyone. And I think it's also a learning by doing. So you don't start, as a corporate, you don't start with the full scale, right? You have to also adjust your organization, because that is the main thing for this to work. Like when we work with corporates and do, for example, startup corporate matching, our startups are reaching out to corporates to get pilots, for example. What we see is that often the corporate really cannot manage it, and that we all know the problems between startup culture and corporate culture and the clashes this brings. So it just takes still too long. Even corporates that are actually set up for innovation and have spent time on designing program and adjusting processes internally, it still takes way too long. So it's just, there is a different culture, and we all know that. So they can't start from full scale day one. They have to take the steps and get the organization internally mature for working with startups, and also define what exactly is it they are looking for. Is it new business model? Is it going to new markets? Is it new way of working? I think lots of innovation has been focused on the market and going to the market. But what we saw, at least before the crisis here, was that also the innovation has to happen internally in the company. And that is very difficult for an external startup to have enough knowledge about how does a corporate actually work inside in the stomach. I don't know how that is going as of right now, but we started to see the trends at least before this virus came.
Yeah, what were the trends, by the way? Because that was my next question. What are the trends here? This open innovation accelerators space. What are the trends in Europe, for example?
So it depends. Yeah. So when we look at the banking sector, so I believe that each bank has its own acceleration program. When we look for other sectors, it depends. But the trend is that what I've seen on different reports, that the trend is that there are different models, and even if you start with external accelerator and then move to your internal accelerator, you end up with external accelerator because you see the benefits of that model. Yeah, so I see that there are lessons learned from that too.
Okay.
I think, like what I have been seeing, at least for just to comment on that you're saying there, Magdalena, is, and when we have been reaching out to startups, I have sometimes had the remark from startups saying, "You come from Startup Wise, guys, so I want to talk to you. Had you come directly from the corporate, I did not want to talk to you because we do not speak the same language."
Okay.
So it's something also for corporates to consider, whether it's an internal or an external.
And Robin,
it was just a note.
What does it take?
Yeah, very few things to add, because I think that was a very good explanation already. But one thing that I would like to mention is how important accelerators are in certain parts of the ecosystem. If you look in Europe, for example, I think we're moving in different speeds. When you have a mature ecosystem, like, for example, the UK, where Seedcamp was a really, really big accelerator, when they started, and now they're no longer an accelerator at all. So they're basically become a seed fund, and they no longer refer to themselves as an accelerator, because the ecosystem around them has matured to a point where they don't really need a big accelerator anymore. Now, in parts like the Baltics, for example, also other parts of South and Central Eastern Europe, accelerators take a very, very important place in the ecosystem when it comes to early stage investments, because there's few alternatives. There's not enough VCs, there's not enough angel investors, there's not a systematic crowdfunding approach, for example. So there's very few alternatives. So accelerators there are much more important for the ecosystem than in other places in Europe and in the world.
But that is, the interesting point that you bring, because in Poland, for example, I've heard that there is even too much money right now. Right? This money from PFR, which is a state fund, there's too much money right now. They mentioned there's not enough startups to buy.
So this is what I come across this all the time. When you go to certain ecosystems, the startups complain that there's not enough VCs, and the VCs complain that there's not enough startups. So it's always sort of where's the problem coming from? And of course you need entrepreneurs, not just enough entrepreneurs to start businesses, but also stay in the country and do it from there, because a lot of them oftentimes move out of the country and build their businesses elsewhere.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that the Central and Eastern Europe is, as an ecosystem, is maturing. So like for maturing ecosystem, we need more and more incubation, acceleration, and seed funds. But at some point of time, and I think that maybe we will see after Corona, but at some point of time, this ecosystem would also require some more sophisticated services for later stage startups. So, and it happens now for some of them, but the ecosystem is in all its entirety maturing. So even in our, let's say, network, because MIT Enterprise Forum, it's a network of organization all around the world. So not everywhere we are running acceleration program, because it depends on the maturity of the ecosystem. So we deliver what is needed, not what, and our mission is to support technology companies. So we support them in such a way that is relevant to the market.
Okay.
I have a comment on that, because we have been talking about for a while the trend that investors and also accelerators now, as you mentioned, Robin, going later stage. And it's something that we don't do. Of course, we have a follow-out fund, but it's a conscious decision we are making that we cannot, not all of us can go later stage, because who will take care of the early stage? We will have no input. So we will kill all the early stage before they get to later stage. So we will have no pipeline. So we are even earlier than our early stage accelerator. We have our online pre-accelerator program, which is a huge success, which is equity free and for free to join, but we have selection and so forth. And it's now become a pipeline for our own programs. But we also have follow-up funding, and we are also opening a scale-up program. So we need to have the entire portfolio and to cover the entire life cycle of the startups, or else we will eat ourselves if we all go later stage, as I said.
Yeah, there must be a complete food chain, I believe.
But it's more fun for some to have the later stage. We enjoy the early stage, but I know that maybe for some people it's funnier to have. I don't know why, but.
Any final remarks, since we have less than 1 minute?
So our strategy is similar to what Lone said, that we, for now, we create the whole value proposition for ideas, for early stage, for later stage, and so on, because we have to deliver startups everything they need. So and for the maturing ecosystem, what we shall do, we shall support creation of new ideas and new projects to address the problem that you've mentioned, that VCs have no projects to invest in.